Howdy. Bill Turner from Oklahoma has you download. So nice to see you. Thanks for showing up. I had to wash my hair, so my hair's like lying down. I'm sorry if that's what you came for. Hate to disappoint you, but the hair's lying down today pretty uniformly. I do need to get it cut, but anyway. So it's obvious the case that there's still a lot of people in the country who are suffering terribly. Most of the results, to a great extent, as a result of stupid policies. Either policies Trump pursued or Trump's failure to pursue effective policy solutions to problems. It's not going to suddenly get magically all go away just because Trump leaves office. Biden doesn't have a magic wand he can wave to solve everybody's problems. No president can solve everybody's problems. But good presidents do usually try to go to some lengths to make sure they don't add to the problems of the country. Unfortunately, Trump didn't understand that. Yeah, and he's so right now, as a result of his lousy response to the pandemic, his encouraging of conservative domestic terrorists, and his decision to arrest all asylum seekers, causing separation of children from their parents at the southern border, he has created a lot of misery, a lot of unnecessary misery. You should feel free, you may have some other issue that you want to, some other way in which Trump added to misery that you want to point out. Please feel free to add to the list. It's a long list, a long sad list. We need to get rid of him as soon as we possibly can. Um, but I want to acknowledge the fact that people are suffering because I don't want to feel like I'm being completely indifferent or, being cruel about this. But at the same time, the entire Trump administration has just been basically a comedy of errors. I mean, people laugh. I have laughed hilariously ever since many stupid things Trump has done since he declared his candidacy way back in 2016. Our saving grace throughout the United States throughout the Trump presidency has been the fact that Trump's just too stupid to figure out how to use the power of the presidency, which obviously we now know is, and I mean, those of us, a lot of people already knew this before Trump, but Trump demonstrated very vividly just how enormous the power of the presidency is. And Trump, but he didn't use it to its fullest effect. He could have done a lot more harm than even it's bad enough as it is, undoubtedly, but he could have done a lot worse. I mean, because he was just too stupid to know how to go about using it. He's a really extremely poor manager, among other things, which is one of his many deficiencies. He's an extremely poor manager, which it turned out to be a good thing because it means that it's a bad thing in terms of the pandemic because he managed the pandemic badly. But up until the pandemic, it was a good thing because it meant that he wasn't very good at using the power of the presidency very effectively. But anyway, so and since he lost the election, he's just turning the absurdity meter up to 11. I mean, Trump's absurdity goes all the way up to 11. So anyway, much of what's been happening since the election has been just hysterically funny, because of its sheer incompetence. Rudy Giuliani, the whole thing about the press conference in Lawn and Garden Place, Four Seasons Lawn and Garden, and then his press conference where he's got his tear-dyed driven down side. Trump himself hasn't really been too funny just because he's been too petulant to talk to anybody. Reporters keep talking about how he hasn't been taking questions from reporters pretty much in public since the election because he's just, he's having a shot because he lost the election. So the fact that he has yet to admit that he lost the election. I mean, it's really kind of amazing. I mean, I really do not understand how it is that otherwise, even like Rudy Giuliani, he used to be a real human being. He used to be a serious, former federal prosecutor, former mayor of New York City, somebody people respected and liked and thought, I mean, Latin didn't like it, but they respected him as well for, thought he was an intelligent person who knew how to conduct himself in the world. And he got too close to Trump, like got sucked into the gravitational pull. I don't know what the problem is. He's now being a blithering and just making a damn fool out of himself on a regular basis. But anyway. But we need to also appreciate that Trump's trying to do as much damage as he possibly can on his way out the door. He's always petty and petulant. He's managed just a perpetual 3-year-old. We all know the image of the child who starts to lose the game and throws the board up, throws a temper tantrum, picks the board up and throws it around across the room. And that's just basically Trump as lame duck. His campaigners right now, they're persisting with the pointless legal challenges in Wisconsin. They're still counting votes in Wisconsin. The Trump campaign paid $3 million for a recount of 2 counties, 2 predominantly black. One. Milwaukee's heavily black. Milwaukee County is heavily black, and the other county with the most black residents in is Dane County. He picked two counties with most black voters in the state as the 2 counties wanted to recount. He didn't want to recount the whole state, just those 2 counties, because he's trying to get rid of as many black voters as he can. The thing is, even if we change the outcome in Wisconsin, which he's not going to do, it still wouldn't happen. He would still not win the election nationally because Wisconsin doesn't mean electoral votes. No state has that many electoral votes. Maybe California, but California is they're not going to change California. Maybe so. And so they're having a recount, and there's been reports. I used to live in Wisconsin. I have a lot of friends in Wisconsin. Reports of Trump people being disruptive in the recounts and having to be thrown out and various other things. And now a conservative group has filed a suit in state court, and they're arguing on issues that they lost repeatedly on in federal court before the election. So they're not going to change the election. Even Paul Ryan, who is a Republican from Wisconsin, has said the election is over. Shut up, Trump. You need to move on. And of course, obviously, Ryan sort of, exerted some resistance to Trump while he was still in office, but not very much. But anyway, so mostly just did carry Trump water for Trump while he was free speaker. That's whatever it is. Because he's a loyal Republican. He's a good Republican. He's not going to argue with any Republicans. The Republican Party says we need to do this. So Paul Ryan will, yes sir, get right on it because he's a good Republican. He doesn't think for himself. He does what Republicans want to do. So anyway, tax cuts, more tax cuts. That's how I think the Republicans come with. So anyway, now also the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, Trump's Treasury Secretary, of course, still he has control over a large amount of money as a result of the stimulus that Congress passed back in several months ago. And so there's still some money lying around, it's like $500 million, not a huge amount of money from stimulus from the perspective. And talking to money to appropriate for the stimulus, but still, not sure amount of money that he's going to move it into an account where supposedly anyway, whoever Biden appoints, right now they're talking about that Biden expects to appoint Janet Yellen, a former member of the Federal Reserve, as his Treasury Secretary, and she will not be able to get access to this money easily without approval of Congress if Mnuchin puts it where he wants to put it. Now, some people are saying that that move actually violates the statute that enabled the creation of the fund, and so that in itself may end up getting into court and having a big court fight over whether or not he was allowed to do that. So anyway, not only is he currently creating actually filing lawsuits over the election, there's also the same situation that may result in litigation after the election's over and after the inauguration, after Biden takes office. Then some Republican legislators in Pennsylvania decided to hold what's billed as a hearing, but isn't really a hearing because it's just Republican legislators and not really going to be able to do anything. But they were going to hold this meeting up in Pennsylvania. And Trump originally was going to attend in person, but then someone of a staff person got exposed to somebody with COVID, and so they changed plan. Trump ended up not going to Pennsylvania to attend this meeting in person, but he did instead. He called in and told the Republican legislators in Pennsylvania that the election was rigged. He's still saying today. How many weeks later? 3 weeks later, that the election was rigged. And they're telling these people in Pennsylvania that the election needs to be turned around. You can't turn it. No. This is not a battleship. You can't turn it around. There's nothing to turn around. He lost, and he's still refusing to admit he lost. So he's still talking to Republicans in Pennsylvania, saying, "Oh, you got to turn this around." And he also lost the Supreme Court. The Pennsylvania State Supreme Court slapped down another one of his lawsuits, and so he had won 2 decisions in his 36. After I think Neil Katyal said he's up to 36 lawsuits over the election, and he won 2 decisions, and the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court just reversed one of those. So now he's won for 36, and of 36 lawsuits he's filed since the election, he's won one of them. Okay, and that one was completely trivial, stupid issue that is not even going to remotely change the outcome of the election. So anyway, so that's what Donald Trump's up to. Still believes that the election was rigged and needs to be turned around. Okay. You run with that, dude. He is also hardly changing his main rules as he possibly can as we're at the door. He's a big fan of the executive order. I'm curious. I don't know. We'll probably never know the answer to this, but I have a sneaky suspicion that Donald Trump doesn't understand the difference between an executive order and a piece of legislation. That he can sign executive orders. The presidency is effectively the CEO of the federal government. The federal government is an enormous employer, and it spends a whole lot of money. And it needs to have rules and procedures in place for determining, how it's going to treat its employees and how it's going to spend money. And president's executive orders can determine how the federal government operates. And so, for example, the whole thing about arresting asylum seekers at the border, right? That's a matter of administrative decision. I mean, and so that was one thing that he could do by executive order, or determining how the Customs and Border Protection, but Border Patrol are going to handle incoming handle people coming into the country. And so that's how he could also use an executive order to ban the admission of Muslims, which is really rancid, stupid thing to do. But anyway, he did it. This is rancid and stupid. And because of the fact that these are procedures the federal government has to follow, and they take direction from the president making decisions about how to do their jobs. So he likes these executive orders. Legislation, on the other hand, Congress passed, both houses of Congress have to pass a bill, and the president has to sign or veto legislation. Completely different matter. They can bind everybody, So arresting asylees at the border and preventing Muslims from entering the country is a horrible, bad thing to do. We should never have done, but it doesn't impact on me. I'm here. I'm a citizen. I'm sitting here in the middle of Oklahoma. I don't care. But when Congress passes a statute that says, everybody in the country has to pay income taxes, that impacts everybody in the country, and so that's a completely different matter. But I'm not sure that Trump understands the difference. I mean, it's kind of a trivial, small point. It's the kind of thing that policy people like me think about, and I'd be curious to know the answer. I don't think we'll ever find out. But anyway, I'm not sure he knows the difference between an executive order and a piece of legislation. But anyway, this is not. But so one of the rules, the rule change that has already gone through several layers of approval that might actually take place very soon, that is not at all funny, is the idea that you're going to start allowing federal executions by firing squad. I'm sorry, okay. It's not funny. Well, firing squad can restore the firing squad as a way of executing people. And of course, a good Catholic, theoretically the Catholic Church opposes the death penalty on principle in all situations, but Bill Barr is a good Catholic, has been executing people right and left as fast as he possibly can. He's got 5 more people on deck getting ready to execute. It's almost certainly not the case that any of these people will actually be executed by firing squad. Right now, they use lethal injection, which their big argument over that, because my state of Oklahoma had a really horrible botched lethal injection case a couple of years ago, where people talking about, well, do you know what horrible crimes they commit? It doesn't matter. That's no excuse for torturing people as you're executing them. Anyway, so but yeah, I'm gonna go back to using firing squad. Okay, sure. So it's probably not going to. Maybe else have the electric chair. It's certainly probably not going to happen, but who knows? That's what Trump wants to do, and I say his good Catholic Attorney General is right there with him. So 5 people on deck to get executed, and there's nothing funny about that. But anyway, so that's upcoming. So back to the firing squad. What is funny, however, there's some really extremely funny stuff going on here with respect to the election, because again, Trump still is not willing to admit that he lost. And his remember the Large City Powell, the one who's too crazy even for Donald Trump. Even Donald Trump said, "Oh, you're the crazy." She's still out there, but she said apparently today was the day she's going to release the Kraken, whatever the hell that means. Do not ask me what that means, because I don't know. Maybe Kraken goes with Krake, capitalized Kraken. Ooh. And I'm sure there's some mythical beast out there, Kraken, that she's referring to. I have no idea what this is about. I don't really care. I should look it up and find out, but she's going to release the Kraken. Ooh. And the Kraken, in this case, is supposed to be some mammoth lawsuit that's going to, overturn reverse the election results and really, prove that Joe Biden eats children. All of a sudden, the guy is trying to let the horse release the Kraken. Ooh. And it's like, okay, good luck. I've yet seen any news reports on indicating that she actually has released the Kraken. And the Kraken said that he was like, oh, there's the Kraken. It's like a fly. It's like a gnat. There's a little fruit fly flying in there. That's the Kraken. But Lou Dobbs, famous Fox News personality. This is crazy. Trump and Sidney Powell. This referred to her the eminent reference, imposing reference to her releasing the Kraken today on this new show. So I'm sure it'll be real dizzy. Keep your eyes peeled for flying Kraken. Oh my God, it's the Kraken! Here comes a gnat. It's a mosquito. Shit. We're gonna do that. We're gonna scare everybody the Kraken. I can't wait. I can't actually release the Kraken. I can't wait to talk about it. Oh yeah, so anyway, also, but the other thing that's kind of, it's kind of funny, but it's really kind of sad, is the Secretary of State of Georgia, I can't remember his name, Raffensperger, or whatever his name is, released a statement recently saying that he and his family had all voted for Donald Trump, and then Donald Trump threw them all under the bus. I'm sorry, again, funny, not funny. I feel kind of sorry for the guy, but you're kidding, right? You literally kind of sort of maybe had a bit of an excuse saying that you didn't necessarily know that Donald Trump does that to everybody. Literally everybody, okay, so far I didn't done it to his family members, I didn't even done it to Jared. He hasn't done Stephen Miller, and he's still out there trying to, we're still looking forward to having him pardon Mike Flynn. I don't understand quite what his attachment to Mike Flynn is, but he still seems to like Mike Flynn. But anyway, maybe because Mike Flynn was loyal to him until he got indicted, and he's still loyal to him. But but Donald Trump eventually turned anybody who says anything tiny bit remotely critical about Donald Trump ends up getting vilified publicly by Donald Trump. That's what he does. That's what the man does. Because again, he's acting like a 3-year-old. He's acting like a spoiled toddler, and that's what he always acts like. And so this poor guy, and what this poor guy did was his job. He's Secretary of State of Georgia. His responsibility, part of his responsibility, was to certify the election results. And in fact, Joe Biden won Georgia, which is a surprise. Everybody's kind of surprised by that because it's been a long time since a Republican and a Democrat won the state of Georgia in a presidential election. Jimmy Carter, of course, was governor of Georgia before he became president, and he won Georgia. But Georgia's been pretty solidly Republican state in presidential elections. Not necessarily since 1976, but I think somebody said 1996 was the last time Clinton won Georgia, but Clinton was the last person to carry Georgia. So it was kind of surprised that Biden carried Georgia, but Biden did in fact carry Georgia. And this man's job was to certify the results, and he did his job well and honestly, according to, in a reasonable manner. And Donald Trump is tough about that. Donald Trump cannot understand the idea of anybody with any integrity doing their job properly. You should certify the results for Donald Trump in defiance of all evidence. Everybody else is like, Biden won the election in Georgia. But Donald Trump wants this guy. What do you think he's going to do? You're still not making any sense. But anyway, this poor guy thought that Trump would be loyal to him, and of course that was a dumb thing for him. And so, maybe in 2016 you might have not known that Donald Trump was that big of an idiot, and then you might have had some good reason to vote for him. Never a good reason to vote for Donald Trump, but you might have, as a good Republican, you said, oh, well, I'm a good Republican, so I vote for the Republican candidate. But by 2020, you're surprised that he turned it. This has been a repeated, widely reported aspect of Donald Trump's presidency since he took office, is the fact that he turns on people and stabs them in the back. That's what Donald Trump does. So anyway, I feel sorry for him, but this also sets up an interesting story. Okay, this is the big part. I'm glad you waited this long. Hope you're still listening, because this is the juicy part of today's video. And this is the part that I'm most happy with. I may be able to make a career out of this one. It depends. This one will go on at least until either Donald Trump dies or the Republican Party completely collapses, whichever comes first. You tell me. But don't forget that you heard it here first. That I'm the first. I'm already about to talk about this. So the problem that Donald Trump, the Republicans are probably going to end up really, really regretting they let Donald Trump take over their party if they don't now. They're not saying shh. Allegedly, those reports about these senators who despise Donald Trump think very ill of him, but they won't say it out loud because they don't want him to incur his wrath, his Twitter wrath, because he was supposedly eternal his legions of mindless sheep supporters against any senator who criticized Donald Trump. So even Republican senator, But the thing is, the Republican Party, the only strength the Republican Party has had since, say, at least Ronald Reagan, if not Richard Nixon, has been party loyalty. And that because their one and only policy idea is cut taxes, cut taxes, cut taxes. The solution to every problem is, let's cut taxes, which is doesn't work, And it's an easy sell politically because everybody says, cut taxes. Gosh, I want my taxes cut. The problem with that, of course, is people are starting to figure out that Republican tax cuts mostly benefit rich people. So ordinary, if you make less than $1 million a year, you're not going to get much help out of the Republican tax cut. And it finally really seemed to have clicked this last time. The Republican tax cut they passed when they had control over Congress. 2 years of complete control over Congress. Republican control of Congress and Republican president. And the only thing they passed of any consequence was a tax cut. One tax cut, measly tax cut. They didn't even return to regular order in the budget. This is not really about budgeting because if there are established procedures for passing a federal budget. And it's a big honking, multiple appropriations bills. It's a big deal. It's a big complicated deal. They haven't done that since Republicans for years now because Republicans are just as happy to continue relying on continuing appropriations bills that just sort of basically continue. Okay, the federal budget is set. We'll just keep doing what we've been doing, which is from Republican perspective is actually really stupid because they supposedly all these spending programs that they supposedly want to get rid of, they're not going to be able to get rid of them doing that. They have to go back to where they live. But anyway, that's stupid Republican stupidity. But anyway. And so tax cuts, since that's their only policy idea, they're not going to win on policy. So they win elections because they have absolute party loyalty. Republicans all march in order in one direction. They The Republican Party sets the direction, they all march in that direction. And they can rely on stupid Christians who vote for them automatically because Christians believe the lie the Republicans are finally going to stop abortion, which, good luck with that. They've been claiming that for years now, at least since Ronald Reagan. They haven't really done a very good job of it. Christians want to stop abortion and they hate queers, and so they vote Republican because Republicans are going to stop abortion and Republicans are going to pick on queers. So, but the problem that Trump creates for them is now that he's gone explicit about Republican racism, which Nixon taught them to be racist, but to be quiet about it, be sotto voce about it, talk about the silent majority and welfare queens and Willie Horton and all that kind of stuff. Trump was just like, well, I'm gonna go out there and ban, get rid of all the Mexicans and all the Muslims, which okay, yeah, say it's not a race, it doesn't matter. It's still picking on people, identifying people by an irrelevant characteristic and then choosing to pick on them. That's racist, basically. Okay, it's conceptually it's not a different move at all. It's basically the same move, and there's no important difference between that and racism. So shocked about not being racist, but anyway. But the problem that they've created for themselves now is that with Donald Trump attacking people like this poor guy in Georgia, and God only knows who else he's going to attack next, attacking Republicans, local Republicans, and federal Republicans all over the place for that matter, who cross his path, who look cross-eyed at him, he's going to start undermining Republican Party loyalty, and that's going to be potentially really bad for Republicans. That's going to destroy the Republicans' brain because that's the only thing they have is party loyalty. And if they start, if people have to start, worrying about, treading lightly around Donald Trump all the time, and then, but the problem with that, of course, always is that, you never know what it is going to piss Donald Trump off. He's so crazy that he's going to get pissed off about stupid shit. And so he's going to get pissed off at you. You're going to do, all those poor guys in Georgia was, again, his job. He just did his job in a reasonable manner. And, what was he going to do except for certify the results and accurate results? He had no choice. And so he just did his job, and Donald Trump's pissed off at him, dumping all over him and making an idiot of himself, as Donald Trump always does. So, but Donald Trump is going to start to really potentially badly undermine the party loyalty that is Republicans' only strength. And so he may very well end up undermining the party badly, if he lives long enough. He may fall over dead in a minute now. And they may find some other way to survive. And of course, even if the Republican Party collapses, let's remember the constituents, all those people who are Republicans now, are going to still be here. It's not like they're going to disappear. Human beings are going to disappear just because the Republican Party disappears. So they're going to form up into, and the Republican Party is just the Whig Party existed way back until the 1840s. The Whig Party fell apart over the slavery issue because they couldn't figure out how to finesse it the way the Democrats did, and so the Whig Party fell apart, and the leftover Whigs, mostly the anti-slavery Whigs, got together and formed the Republican Party. So that'll form up another party that's going to take over for the Republicans, but still, anyway, even if the Republican Party collapses. But you heard it here first. Let's keep it. Could promises to be a total breaking. I can't wait to see what Donald Trump does next to undermine Republican Party loyalty, but. Because the other thing is, you got to be kind of stupid to be a Republican. But there are some Republicans out there who are smart enough to figure out that Donald Trump's an idiot. supposedly there are a lot. Was it who's the Bob? What's his name? The famous reporter, the Watergate reporter, who said that he gave a list of specific senators who told him, yeah, Donald Trump's a blithering idiot, but we're not going to say it publicly. So they're stupid and they're moral cowards, but they might, but some of them, we always see this with them. Mitt Romney who has the courage to stand up and say, geez, Donald Trump, you're an idiot, and you lost the election. So, and then Paul Ryan's now saying the same thing, so we'll see what happens. But it could be good. Looks going to be a lot of fun watching Republicans sit there and fight with each other. Can't wait. Anyways. But really, right at the moment, the hoot du jour. Okay? This is the funniest thing. You heard about this? This is the funniest goddamn thing. I was like, oh my God, it cracked me up. So apparently Roger Stone, remember him? Roger Stone, president's buddy, the guy that allegedly has a tattoo of Richard Nixon on his back. Okay, whatever, dude. And did he get released from prison? He's since got commuted or something. Trump interceded on his behalf and let him off the hook after he got convicted for lying to Congress and various other things. Roger Stone is apparently encouraging Republicans in Georgia to write in Donald Trump's name on their runoff ballots for the Georgia senatorial elections that are coming up. So remember, Georgia, it's an unusual situation, but Georgia has 2 open Senate seats. And they had elections, the election we just had, People voted for Senate, and if neither candidate clearly cleared the 50% hurdle in either of the elections, in any of those races, and so they're going to have a runoff in January that could very well have the effect of determining which party controls the Senate in 2021. So it's a really, really pretty important election coming up here, and it's a runoff election. But here's Roger Stone telling Republicans, and apparently they got random, no-name Republican voters out there plumping for this idea too. By God, we're gonna write in Donald Trump on our runoff ballots. Go for it! That is the dumbest fucking thing. I mean, how? What you gotta be kidding me? That is so completely idiotic for a Republican president. It's just completely, it's staggeringly stupid, but they're gonna do it. I hope they do it. Go for it, guys. And if you're a Republican voter in Georgia, yeah, you should definitely write in Donald Trump on your runoff ballot. It's so important it's a runoff. So actually, in runoff, of course, you got A and B. There's only two choices. Usually a ballot will have a space somewhere on there where you can write in Mickey Mouse or, Donald Duck, whoever's going to want for the candidate. Somebody you know is not going to win. Not even a candidate, but you write in who you're going to write in. But not a runoff ballot because it's just A or B. We've already determined who the candidate. The only candidates are going to be for these two seats, and you got two choices. A or B, and you can presumably, who knows what, presumably they might spoil ballots and might cross out us off and write in Donald Trump or knock yourself out, do whatever you're going to do. But yeah. Gonna write in Donald Trump in the runoff ballots for the election. That is such a hit. I can't wait. It's going to be great. I can't wait. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to that election. That's going to be big fun. But anyway, I encourage, if you know any Republicans in Georgia, be sure to comment and say, hey guys, I hope you're going to vote for Donald Trump in the Senate runoff election in January. Go for it. Anyway, all right, but that's about all I have to say today. But I was just like, we'll save the funniest for last because that's really screamingly funny. And remember it now. Again, I have a book, The GOP Will Not Govern. You can get it on Amazon. The basic argument of the book is that Republicans seek high office because they enjoy the prestige and the perks and the opportunity to enrich themselves and their rich buddies, not because they have any interest in governing on behalf of the nation as a whole. They don't care about most people. They don't care about black people. They don't care about gay people. They don't care about women. They don't care about anybody but themselves. And so, and I've written an entire book about this. So please go look at my book, William B. Turner, The GOP Will Not Govern, at Amazon.com. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye bonds.